What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. It's the beginning of the week, a new week. Let's go get that money. Let's have a great time this week. A lot of stuff happened over the weekend. We're going to recap it. A lot of stuff coming up this week. We'll talk about it. This is your Sports Digest. I'm your host, Alex McNinch. And like I said, a lot of stuff happening over the weekend. The NFL draft concluded this past weekend. If you did not see or listen to my reaction to the NFL Draft Night 1, I suggest you go and listen to it. It's on every platform still. I gave my live reactions immediately after the draft ended. I literally recorded it like 10 minutes after the draft ended. So you pretty much got my live reactions to how I was feeling throughout the entire draft night. So go ahead and go check those things out there. The only other thing I want to talk about in the NFL is hashtag for the shoe. Let's go Colts Nation. I'm here. I'm a new fan. My boy Anthony Richardson is now an Indianapolis Colt. He's going to be wearing number 5, which I do not like, but it's okay. I already bought 2 shirts. I'm committed. Let's go for it. And we didn't draft Will Levis, so I'm happy. So go Colts. I'm going to ride with them since my boy Anthony Richardson is over there. I've been telling my friends that wherever Anthony Richardson goes is going to be my new team. So I'm officially going to be a Indianapolis Colt. Or in Indianapolis Colt, whatever. Grammar's not my top thing, but I guess that's something you need to have for a podcast. So we're just going to carry on. This is already off the rails, and we're not even 2 minutes into the podcast. This is going to be a great show. Trust me. I am still riding on thousands and thousands of emotions over the weekend. If you have not seen, the Memphis Grizzlies lost. This has been an absolute heartbreaking weekend for me, just because of the fact that it was the worst possible way we could have lost. Literally the worst way we could have lost that game is how we lost. If you did not see, we lost 125-85, and it was absolute dog shit. That's just how I'm going to put it. Like, it's not even like a sense of sadness or frustration even. Like, after the game ended, I just didn't feel anything. Like, I was so mad that I just didn't have any feelings in my body. And I think it was also just the shock factor of, damn, we were the 2 seed. We had an incredible season despite everything else that went on. And this is how it ends. And we just got blown out by 40 in an elimination game. And there's not going to be Grizzlies basketball until October again outside of Summer League. And it was rough. It was rough, but we'll just go ahead and talk about it, honestly. And if you're not looking to hear me talk about the Grizzlies at all, I completely understand. Not everybody's a Grizzlies fan. Not everybody wants to hear me talk about it. You can just go ahead and skip past this part. In the description of all of my episodes, I don't think that has been in the past 2, so ignore everything I'm just saying right there. I know for sure it's in the first episode, but from here on out, check the description of each episode, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, wherever you're listening to this right now. Check the description. There will be timestamps of where I talk about each sport or each main topic, and you can just skip right to it, because I know not everybody wants to hear me talk about the Grizzlies because they might hate them. So I completely get it if you want to just skip past it and move on, but I'm going to talk about it. If you want to hear me just get upset and sad and wither away for the next, I don't know, however many minutes I talk about this game and team and season, then enjoy it, because it's going to be a shit show ride that I'm about to go on. Like, we're going full, like spin away dirt track, like out of control, I don't know what I'm doing type of driving right now. Amateur NASCAR type crap with the way I'm steering the ship today. It's already like, this show is absolutely terrible. I don't know why people are listening to this right now, but we're just going to move on to the Grizzlies here. We're already in a depressed phase, so let's just go straight for it. Like I said, we lost by 40 on Friday night. That was super depressing. And it wasn't even like a fact of like, damn, it was a close game, but we fought our ass off. I'm excited for next year. You can literally talk about every single player on our team one by one and be like, this is where he sucked. This is where he sucked. This guy was ass here. He didn't do this here. And that, I think, was the most deflating thing about it. I was coaching a high school baseball playoff game, an elimination game in the playoffs, as the game was leading up towards. And about 30 minutes or an hour prior to the game, there was a notification that popped on my phone saying that Luke Kennard was not going to be able to play tonight. And it was at that moment I knew that the game was over. And you would think that they came out with a little bit more of energy after Game 5, riding with a lot of emotion and urgency and riding the crowd. But we were on the road. That LA crowd was unbelievable. Props to them. Props to the Lakers team in general, right? This isn't even a slight at the Lakers. Like, I can't even say, like, the refs have screwed us out of the series because they didn't. We screwed ourselves out of this series 100%. So shout out to the Lakers for playing their asses off, proving a lot of people wrong. They played great basketball late in the season leading up to the playoffs, so this wasn't a really shock factor, honestly. This was probably the most even matchup in the playoffs outside of the Kings and Warriors. Shout out to the Lakers for playing the way they are, and we'll get into them later, obviously. But right now we'll talk about Memphis and the fact that we didn't even show up to the court. We might as well have just said, hey, you know what? Let's just not fly to Los Angeles tonight. You know, maybe if we just stay here and take the loss, it won't even be as bad. And we would have been better off doing that because it was absolute ass going over there. The entirety of the trip was just terrible looking. Luke Kennard obviously hurt his shoulder coming off a screen. I think he got his arm caught up on somebody else coming off a screen, and it like hyperextended it kind of, it looked like. I couldn't even tell. Like, it was just such a bang type of thing with that injury to where it's like, I guess it tweaked it at the right point to where it hurt it enough to where he couldn't play. That was super upsetting to see because that was the big thing about Game 5 that made us win that game, is the floor spacing, the ability to drive and kick, knowing that there wasn't going to be a double team that was thrown at you because you had to cover everybody else on the court. And if there was a double team, you made them pay. But now we were having to play with Dylan on the court where you can triple team Ja and leave Xavier Tillman open too. And DB can be wide open. That help defender help on Xavier Tillman. And Dylan's just sitting wide open. He's going to take the shot every single time. And I won't even blame the game on Dylan. Like, the game isn't on one person's fault. Game 6 isn't on one player's fault at all. The entire series is Dylan's fault. I'll put it on him the entire series. I don't care. But this game was not anybody specifically's fault. But we'll talk about Dillon Brooks right now and how he is. He claims himself to be a 3-and-D wing, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, even. When you're shooting under 40% from the field and shooting 32% from three, you're not a 3-and-D wing, dude. You're just Tony Allen, but just 20 times, 1,000 times worse. Because at least Tony understood his role and knew that he had the ugliest jump shot I've ever seen in my entire life. But he was never going to shoot that thing unless he was absolutely wide open, and he would take 1-3 every, 7 games. Like, you take 7 threes every game. Like, there's a difference between you two. There's no reason that Dillon Brooks should be shooting more than 3 threes a game, right? He's a better three-point shooter than Tony Allen, so I'll give him whatever the credit that is. But the fact of I'm watching the game and you look down at the box score at the end, and Dillon is 1 for 7, 1 for 8, 2 for 9 from 3. The fact that he's shooting that many is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous. And then he runs his mouth, and it costs us the series. If he just kept his mouth shut, we'd probably be in a little bit better position. They'd probably have a little bit more respect for us. They wouldn't be gritting and hitting and chanting whoop that trick on their bench. By the way, let's just talk about that. I saw Tristan Thompson doing that on the bench. He was grittying while chanting whoop that trick on the bench. I don't know if Tristan Thompson is aware what's been happening in his life the past year now, but I don't think he has a word to say in anything that has to go on with this earth. If you're Tristan Thompson, you've got too much shit going on in your personal life that we can make fun of your ass for. You're lucky you got on a team with LeBron because LeBron came over and saved your entire franchise. But otherwise, you would have been some nobody center that played with Kyrie, and you would have been traded for probably a second-round pick because you were worthless as shit. Anyways, whatever. Tristan Thompson, kiss my ass. But I mean, I don't know how to feel anymore. They had exit interviews this Sunday. Everybody was able to talk except for Steven Adams, I think, was the only person who didn't talk. But it's because he's injured and they probably weren't going to allow him to talk, which I completely get. But we heard Zach Kleiman, the general manager, speak, Taylor Jenkins, the head coach, speak, and a lot of the players who were have importance. Dylan actually showed up to this media availability, probably because it was going to be his last one as a Grizzly, so we had to get his last couple licks in. But Zach Kleiman talked a lot about how they were pissed off about this, and they understand the frustrations that we have because they're just as frustrated about the series and the way that the team and season turned out. Said that there was a lot of distractions off the court during the series that may have led to the way we played. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Dylan, poking bears, old man talk. I don't care. That's just direct shot at Dylan for talking crap the entire series and probably getting him riled up and creating this disadvantage and mismatch for us. From the way that he talked, it sounded like Dylan's not going to be on this team next year, which I think a lot of us knew that was going to be the case. But hearing Zach Kleiman, he didn't directly say it, but when somebody asked about Dylan Brooks' contract and free agency, he said, we'll get to Dylan another day. And he was asked again about Dylan potentially doing stuff, and he says, we'll talk about Dylan some other time. Obviously directs towards me that Dylan will not be on this team after this season, and the next time he'll be talking about Dylan is, oh, we thank you for what you did to the franchise when we were in the lowest of lows and all that crap that he's going to probably say about him that he doesn't even think is true. But he said a lot about how two things that stood out to me that Zach Kleiman talked about was they're going to be super active in the trade market, knowing that they don't have cap space to do anything in free agency. They want to be able to extend Desmond Bane this offseason and use that trade market to their advantage to go get better pieces. And then the other thing he talked about was the fact that Ja, Dez, and Jaren are going to take steps this offseason to be leaders of the team. There's a lot of talk about getting vets, a lot of talk about getting older guys on the team to kind of mentor young guys or take control of that locker room. But it looks like we're internally wanting our leaders to be our best players, which makes sense. But there's got to be leaps that are taken within that even. And obviously Ja, with all of his off-the-court stuff that has gone on this season, I think they're expecting him to kind of figure it out and understand how to become a better teammate, a better person, a better individual. So they're hoping that he can take those steps because it seems like Dez and Jaren are already taking those steps of being the heart and soul and leaders of the team. Once again, unlike other people on our team who like to go around and talk shit but can't back it up, not sending any direct shots at anybody, but that's what it is. Hearing the other guys talk, they were all disappointed. They're hoping to get some new stuff for next year. It seems like everybody believes that there's going to be some roster turnover. Even guys that are for sure going to be on this team, like it looks like they understand that there's going to be some changes that are made. And there's obviously the reports that we offered 3 first-round picks for OG Anunoby at the trade deadline, offered Dylan Brooks up at the trade deadline multiple times, offered 4 to 5 first-round picks for Kevin Durant and Mikal Bridges at the trade deadline. So obviously we're trying to go all in. We're trying to get that last piece, right, for the next step. We want somebody that could fit our timeline, hence why Mikal Bridges was one of the guys that we targeted. But we're going to kind of go over in the coming weeks every single team's off seasons and how they should maybe draft, maybe sign free agents, roster construction, all that kind of stuff leading up past the NBA Finals, so that we can highlight the off season before we get there. So I won't go too much into detail about what the Grizzlies should do necessarily right now, although I'll throw out 3 or 5 names that I would keep on your mind when thinking of being on this Grizzlies roster next year. Name number 1, OG Anunoby of the Toronto Raptors. Name number 2, Dorian Finney-Smith of the Brooklyn Nets. Name number 3, Mikal Bridges of the Brooklyn Nets. And I'll throw in 2 little shocker weird ones just to get crazy right now. The last 2 names, Paul George and DeMar DeRozan. Those are long shot ones, obviously, but just those 5 names, keep in mind and keep in the back of your head when it's coming to free agency or to trades in the next few weeks, because you're going to hear a lot about what should the Grizzlies do, how should the Grizzlies move on from here. I'd keep in mind with those 5 names, and actually add a 6th one, add Kyle Kuzma to that list as well. So look for those 6 guys as well that could potentially find their way onto this Grizzlies roster next year and make a big impact. But that's all I'm going to say about the Grizzlies right now. Like I said, we're going to talk about them more in the upcoming weeks. I kind of want to just get my mind off a little bit. Like I said, if I recorded this on Friday after the game, this probably would have gone viral for how much I was yelling and how much I would have been frustrated. So I gave myself a couple of days to calm down and become level-headed again to give my take and to give my opinion and outlook on the team and how this series went. Obviously, injuries ruined us. Off-the-court stuff ruined us this season and this postseason. I expect a lot of changes to be made in this upcoming season, but we got time before any of that starts. But moving on to the rest of the NBA, it was a great weekend in the NBA. Starting on Friday, the Kings and Warriors forced a Game 6 with the Kings winning 118-99. We'll talk about that more in a second. On Saturday, the Suns and Nuggets started their first-round matchup. The Nuggets won that game 125-107, have a 1-0 series lead. Jamal Murray, Bubble Murray, playing like it's Instagram Live, Instagram Reel Jamal Murray. If you know what that means, then you get it. But he went off nuclear, 6 threes in that game. Jokic had 24 points and 19 rebounds. And it's just going to go back to what I was saying about the Suns this entire time and what I've been telling people about the Suns. And it's the fact that, cool, you traded for Kevin Durant to get that star power, but let's just look at some of the guys that played in this game, that played a ton of minutes, so that were in the rotation and are your bench pieces. First of all, your 5th starter is Josh Okogie. Enough said. Torrey Craig off the bench. Jacques Landale off the bench. Damian Lee, Landry Shamet all played 10-plus minutes off the bench. Are you telling me that's a championship team? Championship teams have depth. Championship teams have good bench players. I'm not taking anything away from Torrey Craig or even Landry Shamet or Terrence Ross or whoever they want to bring off the bench. I'm not discrediting any of those guys. But are you going to take those guys off the bench? Or are you going to take Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, Reggie Jackson, and that's all they got. They played 3 guys off the bench that were 10-plus minutes. Even Reggie Jackson played 3 minutes, but he's another option off the bench. He's got Thomas Bryant you can play off the bench. This team has got a lot of depth, right? Has a lot of depth. Not to mention, their starting lineup has been pretty much healthy the entire season. And I know a lot of people like to make fun of the Nuggets for being regular season champions or, they're a regular season dynasty. Like, yeah, regular season's important. Just ask a lot of these other teams. Ask the Grizzlies. Is the regular season important? Yeah. How many games did our starters play together total this entire season? I think like 20-something. That's bad. That's really, really, really bad. So to be able to be healthy and play the entire season, it builds chemistry. It builds self-awareness of your roles. And it helps Mike Malone figure out, hey, maybe this is working at this point. This will work here. Or we need to make an adjustment here because this is happening. And I don't know. I think a lot of people have been counting this Denver team out since day one. And there's just something about them that I think that this is their opportunity to run, because the Warriors and Lakers are going to beat the hell out of each other. So if you can take care of Phoenix here, despite Devin Booker and Kevin Durant not having great games and Chris Paul being Chris Paul in the playoffs once again, if you can limit that kind of how it was game one, or even a shell of what that was in game one, man, Denver has a chance. Denver honestly has a real chance. And obviously Kevin Durant's not going to have 29 points again. He's probably going to go for like 40 next game just because I said this. Devin Booker's going to go nuclear at some point. But one of the big things is DeAndre Ayton. He wanted so much money in the offseason. He hated being in Phoenix. He tried to sign with Indiana. Yeah, he tried to sign with Indiana. And now he's the softest player in the league, apparently. I watched a video, and I'm sure you guys have seen it too, where DeAndre Ayton, there was like 4 tap rebound chances. Kevin Durant's trying to fight for a rebound, and DeAndre Ayton is just sitting underneath the basket watching it happen instead of fighting for the rebound. Like, what are we doing? And it's been known over a while now that DeAndre just doesn't want to play. He wants to give up on plays. Him and Monty Williams don't get along anymore. So that's just a whole sinking thing with the relationship there. I expect him to be gone in the offseason. But again, we'll talk about a lot of that kind of stuff going on here in the upcoming weeks. And then moving on to Sunday's games. The Miami Heat and New York Knicks played their game one of the second round on Sunday. The Heat go into Madison Square Garden and win that game 108-101. The big thing to note about this game is Jimmy Butler got hurt within the last 5 minutes of the game. Twisted his ankle pretty badly. I think he stepped on R.J. Barrett's foot, Brunson's foot. I can't remember exactly who it was, but he stepped on somebody's foot, rolled his ankle. He was on the ground for a while. They had to go to commercial break and everything. So if you were watching that game, you can obviously tell he was limping around noticeably, favoring that ankle a lot, but still ended up getting 25 and 11, shooting 50% from the field and hit 9 from 11 from the free throw line. But one of the big things for this team, Gabe Vincent and Kyle Lowry having great games, and a lot of people talking about Gabe Vincent. What can he do in this series to be that third guy because of the fact Tyler Hero is out and won't be back until at least the conference finals potentially. What can Gabe Vincent do to be that next guy? And he goes out and gives you 5 threes with 20 points. And Kyle Lowry off the bench, getting paid all that money, scores 18 as well off the bench. Kyle Lowry's played in the playoffs his entire career. He knows what he's doing there. He's a playoff player. Granted, he's won a title, and people like to make fun of the Raptors for their playoff successes. But at the end of the day, he has a ring. He was a pivotal part in that ring. So Kyle Lowry, a great guy to have on that team. The Knicks missed Julius Randle with their points. Obi Toppin had 18. He played really well, but if you look at the bench, they played 3 guys off the bench, and they had a combined total of, let me do some quick math because this isn't my strong suit, I think 15 points off the bench from this Knicks team. So Obi Toppin scoring that off the bench would have been a lot better, or even Julius Randle off the bench scoring that would have been better. But shout out to my boy Josh Hart. Even though Jimmy gave him the work a little bit, man, he just plays hard. And you could tell a lot of Jimmy's misses and makes even were tough shots because Josh Hart is all in his grill. I love Josh Hart a lot. We'll get more into Josh Hart in the later time, but if you listen to my last episode, you know how much I love Josh Hart. The way he plays, how he's just a winner, man. A national champion. Josh Hart's just a winner, a winning player. But the Heat win that game, take the series lead 1-0 going into Game 2 on Tuesday night back at the Garden. And the big one, Game 7, between the Warriors and Kings, happened on Sunday afternoon. Kings, man, I don't know what happened in the third quarter, like the end of the third quarter. The Warriors win this game 120-100, by the way, but this game was super close until like the end of the third quarter, and the Kings just were starting to let it slip away. They let Looney get in and get every rebound. They stopped playing with the same intensity and care with the basketball and offense that they normally have this entire series. Oh, and then this Steph Curry guy scores 50 points on you. I think he's the first. It was the first player ever to score 50 points in a Game 7 or something like that. So when he's scoring 50 points, it's kind of a tough way to go out. But look, big time players make big time shots and score and have big time games in big time games. It's a lot of words right there for me, but nonetheless, Steph Curry, man, he had a fantastic game. And the Kings, I mean, you just look through their team, and it's like Harrison Barnes 1 for 4. He only ended up playing 13 minutes. Keegan Murray shot 5 for 10. He's a rookie. I get it. Sabonis, 22, 8, 7. That's not bad. That's a normal Sabonis game for you. But De'Aaron Fox, I get has the fractured finger, so it's a little tough. I give him a lot of credit for going out and playing even. So, but he shot 5 for 19, 3 for 10 from 3. I think he was trying to do a little bit too much hero ball a lot of the time. And then you get Kevin Huerter to be your sniper, and he went 2 for 9, 1 for 6. I'm looking at a Dylan Brooks stat, basically. You put Terrence Davis on Steph Curry. Okay. You only play Davion Mitchell 8 minutes. Okay. Sure. That makes sense. I get you need offense from Terrence Davis, but Steph Curry had 50 points. I think you need somebody that can be out there and defend him, because Malik Monk is scoring 14 points, 4 for 14, 2 for 8 from 3, but still, that's not good enough. I don't know. Mike Brown, I feel like he's a double agent right now. He got paid off by the Warriors to come over to the Kings and screw them over in this playoff series, I feel like. There were a couple times where he could have challenged. This man won Coach of the Year, and I did not see a single adjustment, and I just watched one of the worst adjustments made by thinking, let's substitute offense by defense, thinking, oh, you know what, let's put in Terrence Davis instead of Davion Mitchell, and we'll just outscore the Warriors. When has ever trying to outscore the Warriors worked for anybody? Never. Never. So why are you trying to do it now? You were a former assistant on that team. How are you not aware of the fact that Steph Curry or anybody on that team can go nuclear at any given moment? Granted, if Steph didn't score 50, would they have probably been closer in this game? Maybe. But we can't sit here and think about hypotheticals the entire time. We can sit here and talk about the fact that you played a lesser defender on Steph Curry and tried to and you didn't send one double team at him for, I think, a quarter and a half where he had like 30 points at some point. And you're playing your best defender 8 minutes off the bench. He had no fouls. There's nothing he can do. Yeah, he had a -4 in the plus-minus, but you're playing against the Warriors. Who cares? Keep playing. That makes no sense to me. But hey, Mike Brown won Coach of the Year, so what do I know anyways? Moving on to Monday night games tonight as this podcast is coming out. The 76ers and Celtics played their game 1 at TD Garden, which we'll find out the mood of TD Garden on Monday night after what's going on right now on my TV. But the 76ers obviously now a massive underdog in the fact that Joel Embiid might not be playing for the first couple games of this series. And when you're playing the Celtics, you kind of need everybody for every game. And when the probably unanimous MVP is out for at least 2 games even, that's going to suck a lot. They are a 10-point favorite. The Celtics are a 10-point favorite at home on Monday night's game. I don't know. This is going to be an interesting series. This is the series that everybody wanted, but now the series that nobody wants to see because of the fact Joel's out. We're going to find out what's Harden made of. We're going to find out is Tobias Harris. He's making $30 million. Let's see what he's made of, right? Tyrese Maxey, he's supposed to be the future, the truth. He's going to take over for Harden when he leaves. He's about to get his rookie extension this offseason. He's going to get paid off. Let's see what he's made of. Let's see what this bench unit that you've constructed with DeAnthony Melton is about, right? The only thing I see for the 76ers here in this game 1 is the fact that they've had the longest rest days or the longest amount of days off since they've last played, to where they've had enough time to be like, look, Joel's probably not going to play, so let's prepare for the game without Joel and see what we can do here, see how we can game plan. But then again, Doc Rivers' coaching is up in the air and questioned a lot recently, so I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to have to do to stop this Boston team, because we saw in the last round against Atlanta, it doesn't matter if Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum don't go completely off, because Derek White's going to give you 20. Malcolm Brogdon is going to give you 20. Marcus Smart's going to give you 20. Al Horford randomly is going to hit 4 threes against you, and you just won't even realize it. This team is just so good, and it goes back to one of the things I was talking about with Denver. This team has a lot of depth, and that's what's going to kill other teams in the long run who are maybe playing 7 or 8 man rotations, but you're still able to play a 9-man because you got enough depth. And you can help get some of your other guys some rest, your other role players rest. Because at the end of the day in the playoffs, your starters aren't going to be the ones the depth isn't going to help your starters out in the fact that you're going to be able to rest those guys more. It's the fact that you can play similar minutes between the role players that start and come off the bench and get the same production. That's what Marcus Smart and Malcolm Brogdon do, because you can run lineups. I've seen Boston run lineups where Tatum is playing the 5 and you're running Smart, Brogdon, White, Brown, and Tatum, which is an ultimate small ball lineup. But I've seen them use it against the Grizzlies and it's worked. So it just I don't know. I don't see if Joel isn't back by Game 3, which we'll talk again by Game 3 happening. If Joel isn't back by Game 3. Boston wins this thing probably pretty easily. My series prediction, I'll have Boston in 5 if Joel doesn't come back. If Joel does come back, I'll get Boston in 6. I forgot to give my prediction for the other series, but we'll talk about the Lakers and Warriors as well, because that's going to be on Tuesday. That's going to be an interesting series to see. Obviously, we've seen LeBron versus Curry for how many years now in the finals? So we get to watch older versions of these guys play against each other once again. This Lakers team, man, like I said, I'll give them props. They played their ass off against the Grizzlies. They had one of the better records going down the stretch after the All-Star break, after they made trades. So I'll give them all the credit in the world for that. And then this Warriors team, they just won the championship last year. A lot of the same players are back. Granted, you're missing like Otto Porter or whatever, but I don't know how much that's going to affect the outcome of your rotation and championship team. But Andrew Wiggins is starting to catch his stride a little bit. Draymond's scoring the basketball and hitting threes now, apparently. So if Draymond's going to hit threes, I mean, we might be right back to what we used to be at with the Warriors, and they're just going to get the most insane stuff going on for them the entire time. But man, this series is going to be interesting. I don't know what to look at in the series, like how long this can go. I think that the Lakers are tired after the Grizzlies series, even after going 6 games. But I also think the Warriors are a little worn out after the Kings 7-game series. I'm going to go Warriors in 6 against the Lakers. I'm thinking of 5, but I might also just be salty because the Lakers just beat us. I'm going to go Warriors in 6 for that series. I know these other series have already started, but I'm going to go with the Nuggets in 6 in that series. And then I'm going to go Heat in 7 in the Heat and Knicks series to put up those potential matchups for the next round. And if you skip past the Grizzlies part to get to the NBA part, I mentioned previously that starting either Friday or Monday, I don't know. I'm going to have to do some scheduling and figuring out dates and how long I can go for. But every episode, either starting Friday or Monday, will be an episode where we give a full breakdown on one team per episode. How should they outlook the offseason? Who are some guys they should target? What are some of the draft guys that they can look after or scout or that they've been scouting, or who have been going on these workouts and stuff like that? Getting ready for the NBA offseason to start here at the middle of June after the finals. It might not be this next week. Now thinking about it, because there's 30 teams. If I do one per episode, I'm thinking out loud here while I'm recording. I don't know if it'll be exactly that, but we'll figure it out in the future. Just know that that's coming. So if you haven't heard me talk about your favorite team at all on this podcast, or you're waiting to hear some opinion about some college guys coming up, just know I'm about to start doing my scouting stuff for that I do every single year in my mock drafts for the NBA. The NBA draft lottery, I think, is in a few weeks, so we'll be able to see that. It'll be set, and I think that's when we'll start doing all of that stuff. But nonetheless, the NBA, it's a fun time right now at the playoffs. We're starting to lose games. It's starting to go down now to where we're only getting 2 games a day, and it kind of sucks to see knowing that the NBA is coming down because it's my favorite time of the year is the NBA playoffs, but it's just getting ready for the offseason, which everybody loves even more at the end of the day. So I hope you guys enjoy what's going on still with the NBA playoffs because it's getting down to some fun series here. And now getting into the NHL. The NHL playoffs are kicking off with the second round here this week. A couple of Game 7s going on the night I'm recording. I'm currently watching the Boston and Florida Game 7 right now, which the fact that this game is a 7-game series at this point is ridiculous. The President's Trophy curse is alive and well. It has been revived after the past 2 years. And if you don't know what the President's Trophy curse is or what the President's Trophy is, the President's Trophy is where it is an award given to the team with the most wins in the NHL in that season. And there used to be a curse where it was like for like 6 years straight, if you won the President's Trophy, you were eliminated in the first round or the second round without a doubt. The Lightning and Avalanche the back-to-back years have ruined that President's Trophy curse and won the cups each year. But, man, it's weird to see Boston have one of the greatest seasons of all time. And now the Florida Panthers, who at one point were considering shutting down half of their players to tank and get a better draft pick and maybe get a better chance with the lottery odds to get Connor Bedard, one of the most highly sought-after draft picks in NHL history. Kind of similar seasons in both leagues in the NBA and NHL where people are looking to draft this one guy because he's a generational guy, as Boston just scores it now to bring the deficit down 2-1. I'm in the second period as it's going on. But we'll go to these other games here that happened over the weekend, the series that wrapped up, and we'll kind of go over what the bracket's looking like. Because on Friday, the Hurricanes beat the Islanders 2-1 in overtime. They win their series. They'll play the winner of this next series that I'll give you guys a brief analysis about. The New York Rangers versus the New Jersey Devils, the battle of the East Coast right there. Short little drive for both teams. The Rangers won their Game 6 elimination game 5-2 on Saturday night at the Garden. They'll end up playing Monday night. They'll be the only game playing on Monday, so keep an eye out. If you want to watch some playoff hockey, it'll probably be on ESPN, but it's going to be on Monday night. They're going to be playing their asses off because this is it's the battle of, is everything we traded for worth it with New York, and are we ready yet with our youth in New Jersey? But the Carolina Hurricanes are awaiting the winner of that series. Also on Friday, the Panthers ended up clinching the Game 7 with a 7-5 victory over the Bruins. I don't know what's going on with the Bruins. They can't defend anymore. They're just letting easy shots go in, or people going right through the defense to set up for a one-on-one situation for their goaltenders. It's rough to watch. Second chances scoring has just been an absolute disaster for Boston's defense. So the Panthers are taking advantage of that right now. But moving on to the next series that is going on in the West, the Dallas Stars won 4-1 on Friday night in a Game 6 over the Minnesota Wild. They will move on to play the winner of the Colorado Avalanche and my Seattle Kraken, who are playing in a Game 7 the night I'm recording. I'm trying to get this recorded right now so that I can focus and watch the Kraken game when that comes on here later tonight. So I don't have any analysis for that. Just know that I'm not as confident going into this game. I thought we had the better chance of winning Game 6 at home, but now They're going to be riled up, especially after this hit. Jordan Eberle of the Kraken hit Andrew Cogliano into the boards and ended up breaking his neck. But he was cleared to come back out on the ice and play the rest of that game. So what a tough SOB he is to come back out and play. But I think the entire arena is going to be hyped up on that. And they're the defending Stanley Cup champions. They don't want to get exited in the first round to a franchise who's in their second year of their entire history, right? You don't want that to happen if you're Colorado. But as a Kraken fan, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how this game's going to go. We got to score early and we got to score quick. Because the thing about Colorado is they play at a much faster pace than Seattle does. So if we can get out early and get a 1-goal lead by the end of the first period, I feel a little bit better about my chances going on further with Grubauer and this defense that has started to collapse here towards the end of the series. But we'll see what happens there. On Saturday night, the Rangers ended up forcing the Game 7. The Edmonton Oilers finish off their series against the LA Kings at crypto.com/Staples Centers. They win that game 5-4. They will take on the Vegas Golden Knights, and that'll be a very fun series as well to watch. That'll probably be Tuesday, I assume, for that game. That'll be a fun series. Connor McDavid versus that Vegas team that's just a fun matchup. The thing about Vegas is they don't have one true star. I guess William Karlsson or maybe Jonathan Marchessault could be the star of that team, but it's just a battle of two teams that get incredibly well-built teams and don't know if they can fully rise up to the occasion. So that'll be a fun series. One of those teams will be moving on to the conference finals, so that's at least cool for them to be able to experience. And obviously, we have to talk about something on Saturday because if you have not seen it already, I know somebody who is listening to this that has been waiting the entire 40 minutes I've been recording to listen to me say this, to listen to me announce this, that the Toronto Maple Leafs have finally won a playoff series for the first time since 2004. They beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 2-1 in overtime on the road with a John Tavares goal at, I think, like the 14-minute mark. It was an absolute beauty. Ricochet off the defender's skate, kicked past Vasilevsky. John Tavares signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs, I believe 3 or 4 years ago. His hometown team, his childhood favorite team, the Maple Leafs, and has been called a bust. The contract has not been worth it. People have been saying he's gotten hurt. He has underperformed. The Maple Leafs in the playoffs are just a different issue. And just to see him hit that game-winning goal for the city was such a cool thing. And I'm not the prototypical NHL fan that's going to hate a certain team or hate a franchise or a fan base. I respect the sport of hockey, and I love the sport of hockey so much and the culture around it, to where even Leafs fans that might be insane a lot of the times and could be annoying to other people, I absolutely adore and love. And to see the reaction outside of the arena when they won was insane. Knowing that I have a friend that is a diehard fan of that team, and to see his reaction finally of them winning a playoff series after the past whatever years we've been friends, seeing him crumble and wither away every single year. It's been so cool to see the Maple Leafs. And this is time for them to ride this high, because Toronto's now got the winner of Florida and Boston, and you might be getting Florida. And even if you're playing Boston right now, Boston is not playing at the top of their game. So this is an easy chance for Boston to get revenge on Toronto for all those years of beating them in the first round, or Toronto for getting revenge on Boston for beating them in the first round all those years. There's been a history of Boston eliminating Toronto in the playoffs and saying that they own them and stuff like that. So that'll be cool to see if Toronto can capitalize on that and win that series. But the NHL playoffs, man, are kicking down and are cooling down a little bit with the fact that there's less games going to be on, but that doesn't mean it's still not heating up with the intensity in these games. And again, like I said, if you have not watched a playoff hockey game, I suggest you do, because this is honestly like some of the most fun stuff. I've been recording and talking, and I have a game on my TV, and I'm like clinching each time while I'm recording and talking to you guys because of how electric this is. Because a road team is coming into the one of the most hostile environments in all of the NHL, and has a 2-1 lead in the second period right now in a Game 7 as the lowest seed in the conference. So please check out playoff hockey. It's a lot of fun. Please check out NBA playoffs if you have not. If you're not a guy who typically watches the NBA playoffs, check it out. I know a lot of people watching this don't really keep up with hockey. They might be baseball fans, or they might just be strictly football people. But all these sports are having a lot of fun. We'll kick into the MLB a little bit more because these games are starting to die down, and we're not going to have as much to talk about coming up here in the next couple weeks and months. So we're going to be dominated by the MLB and baseball as a whole. But I'll give a quick shout out because I just saw it happen to one of my buddies, TJ McCants, who just hit a walk-off for Ole Miss. I don't know if he's going to be listening to this one or not. I know he listened to one of them the other day because he sent me something about it. But if you're listening to this one, TJ, hell of a hit. You got jammed, so you got lucky as hell. But nonetheless, great hit. Way to walk it off for your team there. And then shout out to your brother as well, who is killing it down there with the Jupiter Hammerheads in single A. But we'll kind of talk about college baseball and the MLB more once that gets to the forefront of the media and attention, which it really never will. But we won't. We'll go into more of that at some other point because there's not a true highlight that has happened here recently that we need to talk about. But that's going to be it for this week, or not this week, this episode, excuse me. We got another episode at the end of the week. Like I mentioned last week, we're just going to do 2 episodes a week now. I don't want to wear you guys out with my voice because, once again, I hate hearing myself talk, so I know a lot of you guys might not enjoy it as much. I'm just trying to do this because I know a lot of you guys enjoy hearing my opinions. I might as well just change myself to an AI so you can get a better sounding voice. I just know you guys like hearing some of my opinions and like hearing me give my thoughts. So I like sharing it with you guys. I appreciate all the feedback I've gotten, all the love and support from all of you listening. From even if you haven't listened, it's like, hey, I'm so glad that you've been able to do this. I know you love doing this. I really appreciate that. If this is your first time listening, please stay. Welcome in. We're going to keep doing this a lot. We're going to make jokes. We're going to have fun. I think we're going to debut a new segment on Friday going into the weekend. So get a little fun for the weekend. Enjoy the games this week. NHL and NBA playoffs are on. Go watch some baseball too. Get yourself prepared. Do some homework on some baseball so you get yourself prepared for what we're going to be covering all summer long. Get ready because we're doing all baseball this summer. I know you're going to dread it, but you're going to enjoy it. Trust me. So thank you guys for joining me today. New episode again on Friday. We'll see you then. I've been Alex McNinch, and this has been your Sports Digest.